The Subcommittee on Government Operations and the Subcommittee on Healthcare Benefits and Administration Rules will come to order, and without objection, the Chair is authorized to declare a recess at any time. The IRS is a federal agency that the average American probably interacts with more frequently than most other agencies in the federal government. And as we look at customer service at the IRS and how most Americans experience the federal government, we owe it to them to make sure that their experience is clear and helpful. And if the taxpayers can get help from the IRS to understand some of the often more complicated tax obligations, the IRS then does not have to spend as much time looking or providing resources for audits or enforcement. Unfortunately, the 2015 tax season had one of the worst customer service records in IRS history, with only 38% of the taxpayers who call the IRS assistance line actually getting a representative. And thereafter, the average wait time was well over 30 minutes. And so as we look at this, as the IRS calls for more resources, Congress indeed did grant them $298 million for the 2016 tax season, with $176 million specifically marked for taxpayer services. As a result, the 2016 filing season was better, but still not as good as it was a decade earlier. So as we look at today's hearing, I'm going to keep my opening remarks very brief, because we are expecting votes here in just a few minutes, and we'll certainly yield to a number of the other members as they have questions, and I'll include some of that in my questioning, and the entire written statement will be made part, opening statement will be made part of the record. So with that, I will now recognize the ranking member for his opening statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman Meadows and Jordan, for holding this important hearing on a topic that is so familiar to so many Americans, IRS customer service. Many of the individuals I represent encounter challenges when dealing with the IRS. These individuals are hardworking, honest Americans who are doing everything they can in order to comply with their tax obligations. I have seen some of these individuals go to great lengths to fulfill their responsibilities, contacting the IRS and others for help, providing what seems like an endless stream of documentation to their agency and their employers in order to get on an installment plan, and in some cases, even digging into their hard-earned retirement savings to pay their outstanding tax debts. So while IRS says that it is working hard to improve customer service, it can be difficult for many of my constituents to believe in some cases. As our nation's tax code becomes increasingly complex, the burden placed on those trying to maintain tax compliance also increases. It is absolutely critical that the IRS have the appropriate channels to assist these well-meaning taxpayers and processes in place to rectify situations in which these channels fail. For that reason, and as a former small businessman, I hope we can shed some light on the processes currently in existence at the IRS for assisting customers before, during, and after the filing season. All customers deserve to have their questions answered in a timely, effective, and respectful manner. What does it take to make that to happen? As the Oversight Committee, we have a responsibility to ensure that government works effectively and efficiently and is responsive to the citizens it serves. We should encourage agencies to take a hard look at themselves and identify areas that are working, as well as those that need improvement. We should encourage agencies to adopt best practices from other areas of government and the private sector. And we should certainly encourage agencies to listen to feedback from those on the other side of the table. Only after doing that can we have a meaningful discussion of what needs to be done and what resources need to be devoted in order to make our system succeed. I hope that these are discussions we can have today, and I look forward to the testimony of our witnesses. Thank you. I yield back.
I thank the gentleman. The chair recognizes the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Jordan, for his opening statement.
I want to just thank the chairman for helping us put this important hearing together as we're heading into tax season or into tax season. I think this is going to be some hopefully valuable information for the folks we get the privilege of serving and representing. So with that, I yield back and look forward to the witness's testimony.
I thank the gentleman. We'll hold the record open for 5 legislative days for any member who would like to submit a written statement. We'll now recognize our panel of witnesses. I'm pleased to welcome the Honorable John Dalrymple, Deputy Commissioner of the for Services and Enforcement at the Internal Revenue Service. Welcome. Mr. Russell Martin, Deputy Inspector General with the Treasury Inspector General for the Tax Administration. Welcome. And Ms. Jessica Lucas-Judy, Acting Director of Strategic Issues at the U.S. Government Accountability Office. Welcome. And pursuant to committee rules, all witnesses will be sworn in before they testify, so if you would please rise and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. Please be seated and let the record reflect that all witnesses answered in the affirmative. In order to allow time for discussion, we would ask that you would please limit your oral testimony to 5 minutes, but your entire written testimony and statement will be made part of the record. And so, Mr. Dalrymple, we will recognize you for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Chairman Meadows and Jordan, Ranking Member.
Turn the microphone towards your mouth.
Maybe just a little bit closer to you there. Yeah.
Thought it was loud enough, sorry. Chairman Meadows, Jordan, and Ranking Member Krishnamurthy, and members of the subcommittees. Thank you for the opportunity to testify on IRS's taxpayer service efforts. The IRS spends a significant amount of time and resources on this part of our mission because every taxpayer contact is important to us. The most visible taxpayer service the IRS provides is the delivery of a smooth, problem-free tax filing season, so people can file their returns and receive their refunds as quickly and easily as possible. I am pleased to report that so far, the 2017 filing season has gone smoothly in terms of tax processing and the operation of our information technology systems. As of February 24th, the IRS received more than 52.3 million individual returns on the way to a total of about 152 million. We've issued more than 41.3 million refunds for more than $127 billion. The average refund so far is more than $3,000. During the filing season and throughout the year, the IRS provides assistance to taxpayers to help them meet their tax obligations. With over 150 million individual taxpayers, we realize there is no one-size-fits-all in terms of delivering service to them. We offer a mix of service channels and are always looking for ways to improve service delivery. Over many years, we've been working to expand our online service offerings because our research tells us that taxpayers increasingly prefer to interact with us through digital channels. Last year, taxpayers visited our website, irs.gov, more than 500 million times. They used irs.gov to find helpful tax information, check on the status of their refund, and perform transactions such as paying their tax bill. We've also been working to develop an online account at the IRS where taxpayers or their representatives can log in securely, get information about their account, and interact with the IRS as needed. We recognize that there will always be taxpayers who prefer not to interact with the IRS online. For that reason, we will continue providing and improving service on our other channels. One of these is phone service. The IRS receives more than 63 million taxpayer calls a year on our toll-free lines. A very challenging year in fiscal year 2015, the level of service provided on the phones improved significantly in 2016 as a result of additional funding from Congress. I'm pleased to report that during the 2017 filing season, we are again seeing an even improved phone service. The IRS also provides in-person help to millions of taxpayers who visit our tax assistance centers, or TACs as we call them. Each of these contacts is also important to the IRS. And to cut down on long lines at our tax, the IRS in 2015 began testing the idea of letting people make appointments in advance. We extended the appointment process to all tax as of this year. Doing so has dramatically cut wait times, and we've had no reports of any lines outside tax so far this filing season. Another way the IRS provides in-person help is by supporting nearly 12,000 volunteer income tax assistance and tax counseling for the elderly sites around the country. Volunteers at these sites provide free tax preparation help to eligible individuals. Along with the service we provide on these channels, the IRS also processes nearly 8 million pieces of correspondence from taxpayers each year, and these taxpayers are also important to us. The IRS remains dedicated to improving taxpayer service across all of our channels. Chairman Meadows and Jordan, ranking members Krishnamurthy, this concludes my statement, and I'd be happy to take questions.
Thank you so much for your testimony. As Murphy's Law would have it, they called votes just about the time that you started speaking, and so what we're going to do is go into recess, and for planning purposes, it will actually be subject to the call of the chair, but for those of you that may want to get a cup of coffee, if you will plan on being back here no later than 10 till 3, it may be later than that, but certainly the subcommittees stand in recess subject to the call of the chair.